They fired a head coach, now special teams coordinator. Coach Riz, who was a pivotal part of the entire new kickoff and everything like that, is interim head coach. You got some tweets coming out from former players, brothers of players. Derek Carr is having to answer questions. It seems to be a full yard sale down there in New Orleans, and it's strictly because the Panthers lost, or how long has this been bubbling down there?
Well, I think it's been bubbling. If you watch that Thursday night game in New Orleans, where Denver went down and won that game, I think there was trouble brewing then. And yesterday afternoon after the game, got the call that this was going to be happening. And, you wait to see if and when it actually does. And this morning they made the decision officially to move on. I think this had been in the works. They obviously have been thinking about it. And Dennis has meant a lot to that organization over time, so it's not a simple thing to do. Never like to see it, but the fact of the matter is that was the direction they were going to go. The team's lost 7 straight games right now. And early on, like through 2 weeks, this was like one of the surprise teams in the league, scored over 40 points in each of the first 2 weeks. Everybody's hailing the team and looking at the Saints, and then it unraveled pretty quickly. So they felt like they had to make a change here.
Okay, so what's next for them? We know their cap situation is always going to be pretty ridiculous. I don't know all the contracts for everybody. Derek Carr, quarterback now. What does the future look like for the Saints? Are we staring down full rebuild? Because they've kind of kicked the can down the road, right, for a long time. They just signed Kamara, I guess, 2 weeks ago to an extension to open up some cap space for next year. But what does it look like for the Saints? And are they going to be very active getting rid of folks before tomorrow? How do you see this going?
Well, I don't think they're going to be very active. I think they're still sifting through it right now, and obviously they have a game this week against Atlanta. I think they're trying to move on with the coaching search. It's not like it's going to be a fire sale here in New Orleans. They have gotten some calls about Marshawn Lattimore, their young, impressive cornerback. We'll see whether they decide to move on from him. I don't think they've made any decision there, and I think maybe it would depend on the offer. But this is a team that obviously has always mortgaged into the future, and they've always been so creative and so smart about doing it. But at some point, you got to pay the bill. And look, when you get a coaching change like this, inevitably there's going to be more change. So we'll see all the change that decides to come to New Orleans. This is the start of, I think, probably a lot of changes. So they got a lot of things in store for that franchise here moving forward.
Obviously, we hope Chris Olave recovers quickly. There's been a couple for him now. That is scary. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's a few this year. There was one at Ohio State. I mean, he's had a history of this, and it's very troubling to watch that yesterday, him being carted off. Serious deal, and you hope he's going to be okay.
T's and P's, Chris. Do whatever is best for you, brother. Legitimately in that entire thing. And for the Saints, I can't wait to see what they look like next year. I'm sure there's a lot of teams snooping around going, excuse me. We're rebuilding this thing? What are we doing? Tomorrow, you think we're going to be very active before 4 p.m. tomorrow for NFL trade deadline Tuesday, November 5th? The world's talking about it.
Well, I'll say this. There's been an uptick in activity in recent years, and I always expect there to be more activity. I'd be surprised if we got a lot of big names, considering we've already had Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, DeAndre Hopkins, Deontay Johnson. Like, I think most of the big names that have been out there have already been traded. Now, could we still get, and are we likely to still get, Zadarius Smith and Azeez Ojulari and a wide receiver, whether that's Darius Slayton or Mike Williams or Adam Thielen? So there's going to be stuff. There's always stuff. And there are teams that believe that they can enhance their rosters, but I'm not expecting Max Crosby or Myles Garrett or some crazy dramatic trade, although that's what's always interesting about all this. Like, what if one of these curveballs comes? I was on the phone with somebody this morning. They're asking me, like, who's getting traded? I'm like, we go over a few names and just the names that I gave you here. And I said, but I always am curious, worried, nervous about that one curveball you don't see coming. And they said that's what keeps them up. Like, also, okay, as they're formulating their team, They want to know if there's a curveball out there that they should be checking into as well.
Oh, got it. You were talking to a general manager.
Okay.
Got it. Okay. I didn't know, because you said you were talking to somebody earlier, and then you gave them those names. I was like, maybe it's a producer for Monday Night Football Countdown, something like that. And then whenever the response from that person is, we got to look out for that curveball too, it's like, yeah, let's find the seams here. You mentioned a few names there that I think interest a lot of people on this particular set. Pittsburgh Steelers, Tone has a question for you.
Yeah, Schefter, you could have kept the Christian Kirk news to yourself, okay? Steelers fans didn't need to know that. Okay? We didn't.
Don't you always like information? Like you get mad when we don't share all the information there, Tone, right?
Yeah,
But at the time,
until we don't get the guy because he got hurt. But now the names out there are Slayton, Adam Thielen, the ones you talked about, and for some reason Steelers fans think we're getting DK Metcalf for some. I don't know why, but
that's an example of a curveball that I'm not expecting. Like DK Metcalf. Like I didn't hear that name, but. I mean, that's the kind of thing on trade deadline day that you're always curious. Like, could there be something like that? Now, again, I've heard nothing about DK. That's the first time I've heard that.
That baby Tone. That baby Tone. He's got an AP vote.
It's number one on the Steelers Twitter wish list.
Okay, good. That's where it came from.
Yes.
All right. How likely, though, Steelers going to be active, we think? They've been in it since the beginning. Obviously, Christian Kirk going there, and then allegedly Ayuk was going to potentially sign a deal. They had a big offer, so they've been very active. Is it the other teams potentially not wanting to trade him? The player? How does this? What do you think is going to hold up some of this stuff here if it does happen? Because Adam Thielen potentially going to be a Steeler because he didn't dress, but he did practice, or are they just gearing up for him to be traded? Then allegedly Zadarius Smith, the trade was already in talks for him to end up as a Detroit Lion. It's like, how do these come together? And when they're reported as like they have a deal, is that like what, like how do we know what's real and what isn't over the next 24 hours?
Well, I think every situation is different. Like Devontae Adams, Pat, your big story that day. That trade was agreed to on Saturday. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, Saturday. That trade was agreed to Saturday.
Did you know that?
Well, I found out about it after that it was agreed to Saturday.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was agreed to Saturday, not Saturday, or Sunday. Found out later it was agreed to Saturday. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, again, we'll use Zadarius Smith. You brought that up. Do I think the Lions and Browns have had significant talks? Yeah. Do I think they have agreed on comments? No. I think they're still arguing about that. Could there be another team that steps in and offer? Yes. Do I think ultimately the Browns and Lions will figure out a way to get it done? I do, but things change. You never know. But I think that there have been enough conversations. And you could go on with almost every player. Teams are checking in on all these guys. Hey, any interest in this? No, yes. Or teams aren't calling back. There are always teams checking in just to kind of get a feel because they don't want to miss a way to try to upgrade their roster, whether they're acquiring a player or draft pick compensation. We could look at the teams right now with 2 wins and say, would any of those teams be in the market to move on and trade some players to get draft pick compensation? The winning teams want to upgrade. So that's sort of where we're at with teams continuing to check in with one another.
8 teams at 2-7 right now.
Yikes.
Lot of crop. You look at that NFC West. Cardinals are leading the division. Congrats to the Cardinals.
How about it?
Congrats to the Cardinals. They beat the Bears.
How about this? The Seattle Seahawks, since the season kicked off, for 8 weeks, were in first place every single day. And they lose yesterday and are now in last place.
Yeah, the NFC West parity has been insane. The Niners have a bye week yesterday, so I think I saw Kittle up in Wyoming. I think he's getting recharged for a big second half alongside Brock Purdy. That NFC West is going to be a battle to the end. Don't look now, Rams. A couple weeks ago, they were going to be trading away their weapons. Now it's like, hold the phone.
Find something.
Are the Rams?
And
are we in this thing? Go ahead.
And Christian McCaffrey probably comes back this week, too.
Now, D-Butch has a question for you, Schefter.
That was my question. Obviously, every week we've been asking about Christian McCaffrey. What have you heard now on that Christian McCaffrey news?
Well, I would say it's what I haven't heard. I haven't heard a single setback. I haven't heard that there's been any issues. I haven't heard that there's any complications. So as long as there's no red flags and that continues on, then I would think that he's going to play on Sunday against the Buccaneers.
Okay.
As long as there's
Here we go.
There's no setbacks.
CMC's back.
Congrats.
Well, again, as long as there are no setbacks. For all I know, he was running yesterday and felt something. Like, I haven't heard any of that so far. That's my point.
Okay. Well, remember, you were the one that told us 4 days before opening day that his Achilles was involved in any of this conversation.
Yeah, whoa.
So I feel like we were kind of bamboozled, blindsided by the loss of CMC for this first half of the season because we all love watching him play, especially in that offense, especially with how they've been playing. Mason comes in, goes crazy. Guerrero comes in, goes crazy. It's like CMC on the field is something that football fans love. I'm taking you for your word. He's back this week.
Okay. Go, Schefty.
Hey, we all want that. We'd love to see that.
Mike McCarthy, are they going to do that to the entire staff over there? And then what's going on in Chicago too, Schefty? Just checking in on the Eberflus situation as well.
Well, what's interesting is, first of all, Mike McCarthy's in the last year of the contract. So, I don't know what you're doing. For all the people that want Mike McCarthy fired, you could see his frustration. You could see how upset he is with everything. We saw Dak's lips yesterday, commenting about how bad the team has been in recent weeks. I don't think they're doing anything in the heart of the season, and it doesn't make any sense to do it what do you want him to do? You want him to fire Mike McCarthy now and anoint who? There's not an obvious candidate. His contract's up after the season. Now, what's going to be interesting to me here is with so many good coaches on the sideline, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, some experienced guys, are there going to be teams that speed up the clock around Thanksgiving to get a jump on talking to some of these guys? Being like, you can't talk to Mike Vrabel, he's in Cleveland, but you could go talk to Bill today if you wanted. You could talk to Pete Carroll today if you wanted. And so you go talk to college coaches who have been wanting to leave to get to the NFL, generally speaking. So there might be teams. You wonder if some of that is at play in New Orleans. Obviously, the fan base there was disgruntled. And I think with any team making any type of coaching decision, I think that plays into it this year. Now, I don't know how many we're going to get this year. If you remember last year, we talked about that. I gave you the number. I said, what did I say, eight or whatever, at least eight, and it was 9. I don't know that we're there yet on a number, but I do think that it could speed up things. And we've already seen two teams fire head coaches, and it's November 4th. That's a little more aggressive than usual, but we may see some of that with some of the coaching talent that's on the sidelines right now.
Jets and Saints, obviously, is who he's referring to, have both fired their head coach already 9 weeks into the season. A lot of football left. You talked about Big Mike McCarthy, but he also mentioned their coach Eberflus. I guess it's getting loud up there.
Yeah.
It's getting loud up there in Chicago. I don't know what expectations were coming in with a rookie quarterback. Obviously, we got a good team. We built this up. We didn't earn the number 1 overall pick. We traded for it last year with the Carolina Panthers. We're looking to have success. The way it's going, though, it feels like Bears fans are loud about, is this the right guy for Caleb Williams and everything that's happening up there? Are you hearing that, or is he safe? Great haircut, good beard.
Always.
Good beard. Would have beat Washington if it wasn't for, Hail Mary. And then it hails yesterday in Arizona.
Listen, they're not.
A lot of hail.
They're not winning consistently enough for these questions not to come up. They are now 0-18 in Sunday road afternoon games during Matt's 0-18.
Are they staying in terrible hotels, or what's going on? Bad.
Well, the good part is they don't play again on the road on a Sunday until the first week in December.
That is good.
So they got a stretch of home games, and they got Thanksgiving Day against Detroit, right?
Ooh.
So they're not going to lose any more Sunday afternoon games on the road for another month. But anytime you're not winning consistently, anytime you're allowing a Hail Mary to happen, anytime you're making some of those mistakes, there's going to be talk about the coaches. I was curious to see, try to never read comments, but some of the comments around Dennis Allen and people like wondering, okay, when is it happening in Chicago too? A lot of that stuff, a lot of commentary about that.
They got real loud in Chicago. That 0-18 stat is obviously an alarming one. And you heard Ty go, ugh, for the Thanksgiving game, because the whole world's watching that one.
Bingo.
So you're playing against this Lions team that is a buzzsaw by literally every statistic. Yep. They are dominating teams. So now you're doing it on Thanksgiving Day with the whole world watching. It's like, that's when it gets very, so loud. But you beat the Lions on Thanksgiving Day. All of a sudden, maybe Eberflus is the guy.
Yeah.
Because remember, the end of last year, Eberflus's culture starting to settle in. Here we go. We're about to get the number 1 overall pick. We're going to roll. It's such if you lose, they should have beat the Commanders.
Yes, for sure.
They should have beat the Commanders. Are we even having this discussion if they get that win? No. But obviously, Tyreek Stevenson celebrating with the fans, bats at the cuz, takes himself out of practice. It's like now the culture's getting questioned, Coaching's getting questioned. DJ Moore comes out on an interview and doesn't say like an answer perfectly. So they're like, this guy, he's lost the locker. It's like, it's amazing how quick everything can kind of, and you just need a win.
Hey, that long run before the end of the half yesterday. DeMarcado, the Cardinals running back, that was like the longest run
just to give up
before halftime in NFL history or some crazy stat like that. Here's the run with that much time left. So in one week you give up a Hail Mary, the next week you give up that run as the half is running out on 3rd and 5, a little handoff to DeMarcado, takes it to the house.
Yeah.
That was a give up play.
Those are not good plays.
Especially with a defensive minded head coach. You got a young, dynamic quarterback. Those conversations get a lot louder, a lot quicker if you're not, this offensive savant.
Especially if Ben Johnson's there.
Yeah.
Slow it down if Houston's available.
Apparently Ben Johnson was interested in the Bears. I don't know where that was reported from.
I saw it too. I don't know if it was real though.
No, it was definitely
just
reported.
came out of my mouth.
Yeah. It was definitely
Albert
reported.
Breer.
Albert Breer reported it. Okay, good. I didn't know if it was a McCockner situation.
No, I knew it was.
That was what your face was saying after that got out of your mouth. I don't know who reported that, if that's real or not. But all those offensive gurus out there with the defensive failures, with the defensive head coach, and then also how it's all, that it all starts coming quick. It all starts going real fast, especially if there's hope for the future, which I think Caleb has brought.
Well, on the other side of that too, like people thought Gannon was going to be on the block, and now they're top of the division 5-4 and winning huge games.
You know why? This is Coach Gannon after the game talking about his locker room and the players on it. It is a message that every coach wishes he could say.
Josh, that's what's allowing us to win games is we take one day at a time, every second counts, maximize the day, keep blinders on, and go about your business. Display winning behavior on a consistent day-to-day basis, and you'll give yourself a chance to win the game. So I think probably why that's happening is the leadership in the locker room, from the captains to, we got a bunch of leaders on that team, you know what I mean? And they don't allow no bullshit. So, not that we have a lot, but every once in a while I'll get out of alignment too. You know what I mean? You got to bring back everybody in, And they're doing a really good job of staying connected and being accountable and doing the right things.
Congrats to the Cardinals having their culture. And Coach Gannon, you can hear, sounds like Coach Sirianni. The Eagles are good. Cardinals are good. Shane Steichen, really the offense coordinator along those two whenever they were with the Eagles. Colts in quite a pickle right now. Mm-hmm. Can you? What are your thoughts on what happens with the Colts, and what are you hearing around the Indianapolis Colts? I thought that we had a team that could win a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
I did. Okay, Schefty. I heard a lot of you, ESPN NFL people. I heard a lot of Fox NFL. I heard a lot of NFL Network NFL. I heard a lot of CBS NFL people saying, "This team, are they going to win a Super Bowl? Is that reality of the situation? Why are we making this move? Not thinking about the future, best of the time. We're in it in the AFC South. We were in it. Mm-hmm. We still are in it. But then we put up that performance against the Vikings. It makes me reconsider everything. What are you hearing about the Indianapolis Colts, and what are your thoughts on it all around the league?"
Well, those are some damning numbers.
Okay, Schefter, get to what you're hearing. Okay. Schefter.
Well, what you're hearing is people have been talking about the quarterback situation, obviously, because that's where the focus was last week. And you saw last night, I think the defense obviously played better, getting DeForest Buckner back. These guys on the defense side, there's talent there. There's talent there for this team to play better and to win. But it still comes back to the quarterback. And the discussion we had yesterday on Sunday Countdown, and the discussion that people around the league have been having is it the right move to bench Anthony Richardson, to basically count on Joe Flacco to get you to the playoffs at the expense of developing and growing your quarterback?
You could be developing off the field. I don't like that is not even, because that's seemingly a part of the, never mind. I'm sorry.
He learned a lot last night.
Yeah, he did. He learned a lot last week. Mm-hmm. He's learned a lot.
Hell yeah.
Can't be doing
Continue.
that.
Yeah.
He learned.
Knows,
He learned.
Can't be doing it.
It wasn't about his play. It was about the...
Exactly.
Well, it was about his play, too.
Yeah,
no,
play wasn't
not
great,
on
but
this
it
show.
turns
Not
out
on
the
this
offense, on our show, is all about the tap out. It's what I was talking about. The play is going to be what it's going to be, but boy, when the offense looks like that, it's like if we're not going to have any...
Yeah,
if we're not going to have any production from the offense anyways, it's like, did he learn his lesson about the tap out? I think.
He did. He did. Get his ass back in there.
I think he did. What do you think, Schefter? What does the future look like? Because last week, didn't Shane say Flacco's our quarterback for the future or whatever, right?
Schefty told us too that
Yeah.
it's pretty much over for Anthony Richardson once he was benched. No quarterback has ever come back.
No, he did not
This
say that.
millennium. I heard
right?
Schefty. I read a tweet. I
Only
read
one. It was Chase
No,
Daniel.
here's what the
player.
tweet said. Well, let's be very clear. If we go, and again, our ace researcher, I brought him up with the show, Evan Kaplan, did the research. We had the idea. We're
Cap?
talking about it.
Oh, yeah, Cap.
I said, go back and count up the number of first-round quarterbacks who have been benched in their rookie contract that have come back to get their team to the playoffs or to go to the Pro Bowl. And there were 66 quarterbacks drafted in the first round this century.
Jesus.
25 have been benched. 25. The only one who came back from that to get to the Pro Bowl or playoffs was Mitch Trubisky, who then obviously went on to Chicago. Now, there have been quarterbacks who have gone on to succeed elsewhere. Baker Mayfield has done very well.
Amen.
Sam Darnold has done very well.
Amen.
We've seen quarterbacks go on to succeed elsewhere. All we're saying is that based on history,
Yeah.
the chances are is that Anthony Richardson's now trying to overcome what most other quarterbacks have been unable to do. That's all. Sorry, Pat.
He's going to be A-OK, Shefty. He's going to be A-OK.
Okay, great.
Right
Well,
here.
great. We'd love to see
Right
it.
here.
Right here in Indy, yeah.
A-R-OK.
Everybody needs a new scenery. He is getting a different scenery, isn't he?
That's right.
Got a chance to sit down, see it from a different perspective. Now he gets a chance to stand back up, go ahead back out there potentially.